When I envisioned this series, I imagined reviewing old games, asking if they're still worth your time and your money to add to your ever-growing backlog. But sometimes it's new releases with their high price tags and time-sensitive perks that really leave me asking, is it worth it? Today I'll be reviewing the newest entry in a series I've been playing since I was a kid, Pokemon Sword and Shield. As always, I'll be reviewing the game with a critical lens in these 5 categories. We welcome any feedback you have for us, but here it is. Are Pokemon Sword and Shield worth playing today? Pokemon holds a special place in my heart. I mean, look at this channel, it's evident. We're doing 2 Let's Plays, I did a first impressions video of this game and a follow-up, and I even mentioned Pokemon in the last Is It Worth It video. I've been playing Pokemon since I was in elementary school, and I have tons of memories with the series. But I'm not the only one. Pokemon was a cultural phenomenon around the turn of the millennium, and is still massively popular today. Maybe even more so recently with Pokemon Go basically taking over the world in 2016. But this isn't a series retrospective. I'll be going into more depth about the origins of the series when Safia and I inevitably make one of these videos for Pokemon Red and Blue. So let's take a look at Pokemon Sword and Shield's specific history. The history and legacy of Generation 8 requires us to take a little look back at the early generations of Pokemon. Pokemon Red and Green, not Blue, came out in Japan in 1996. In 1999, the sequels Pokemon Gold and Silver came out in Japan. They added about 100 new Pokemon, and you could trade with the old versions of the game too. Amazing! Then in 2001, the Game Boy Advance came out, which was like a frickin' Super Nintendo in your pocket, and Pokemon moved into its 3rd generation with Ruby and Sapphire a year later. Generation 3 couldn't trade with Generation 1 or Generation 2, leaving loyal Pokemon fans scorned. All of our old Pokemon couldn't come forward anymore, and if we wanted to catch them all, we had to replace our old Pokemon. And there were almost 200 old Pokemon missing from the new games entirely. Not coincidentally, Pokemon dropped the tagline, "Gotta catch 'em all," for this release. Yeah, it's been gone for almost 2 decades now, but some people missed the memo. Rumor had it that it was because the Game Boy Advance's hardware was incompatible with the original Game Boy, but my GB to GBA link cable adapter and dozens of traded Pokemon between these devices broke that illusion for me. It was actually because they wanted to recode Pokemon, but apparently now we can have Generation 1 and 2 Pokemon in the new games. Game Freak, you broke my heart with Generation 3. Okay, back on topic. Even when Generation 4 moved Pokemon to the DS, we could bring our Pokemon forward between the old and new consoles. Pokemon moved forward easily into Generation 5, and our Pokemon jumped consoles again to the 3DS with Generation 6. 3 years later in 2016, and Pokemon enters its 7th generation with Pokemon Sun and Moon, and we can still move our Pokemon forward, making our oldest ones now about 14 years old. Now let's hold on a second, have a moment here. Where were you 14 years ago? Do you have anything that was important to you 14 years ago and is still important today? Okay, moment over. Hold that thought though, back to Pokemon. Over 7 generations, the franchise grew from about 150 Pokemon to over 800. Gamers went from black and green to full-color sprites to animated sprites to full 3D models. We went from a glitchy mess of a battle system to one refined and arguably reworked 6 times over with multiple competitive formats and countless strategies for each. Longtime Pokemon fans had watched the series go from Japan-inspired regions to ones inspired by continental US, France, and Hawaii. And with the franchise moving to the Switch, coupled with the release of Pokemon Bank in 2017, which allowed for the storage of up to 3,000 Pokemon, and also finally connected Generation 1 and Generation 2 games to Generation 7, but only the 3DS releases. Pokemon fans were excited for another journey taking place in a region inspired by the United Kingdom, and eagerly anticipated bringing forward their now 17-year-old Pokemon into this new game. As a new release, it'll be hard to predict what kind of legacy Pokemon Sword and Shield will leave. Nonetheless, it left a very big impression before its launch, similar to the way Generation 3 did all those years ago. Why? DEXIT. What's DEXIT? Well, it's a combination of Dex, as in Pokedex, and Brexit. What's Brexit? Well, it's a combination of Britain, as in Great Britain, and Exit. It was when the UK voted to leave the European Union by a slim margin. This upset a lot of people, to keep it brief. The Dex part of DEXIT refers to the removal of a large portion of the Pokedex from Pokemon Sword and Shield, from over 800 Pokemon down to only a touch over 300, plus the new Pokemon that would be added. It was a pretty unfortunate coincidence that Game Freak based their game off of the UK, which was going through Brexit at the time, and decided to cut the Dex with this generation. They may as well have started the hashtags themselves. When Game Freak announced this mass removal, fans were devastated. Remember that moment we had earlier? Thinking about those special things and how much we've grown and yada yada? Those 17-year-old Pokemon were now forever trapped in outdated games after coming forward so many times. Those painstakingly crafted Pokemon bred to perfection? They'll never see a tournament again. Perfect Pokemon for breeding? Legendary Pokemon? Shinies? Squirtle? Say goodbye. Pokemon is moving forward without them. Game Freak sympathized and justified it by claiming that they had to cut the Pokédex so they could focus on animations and game balance, which were soon discovered to be outright lies when evidence of recycled animations surfaced, as well as a new game-breaking feature in Dynamaxing. Sort of, but hey, I'll get to that stuff later. Either way, it didn't matter. Fans were emotionally invested not only in their own Pokemon, but in some of their favorites that undoubtedly wouldn't make the cut. Well, now we know that more old Pokemon will be coming back in DLC, and even though we have to pay to access them, it does open up the possibility of having a full 900-ish Pokedex in the game. And with Pokemon Home out now, Sword and Shield are connected to every Pokemon generation before them. Go figure. But before launch, Game Freak's attempted damage control didn't help. Hashtags like Game Freak lied and Boycott Pokemon were trending. And then the games went on to sell over 16 million copies worldwide and will likely have outsold both of the previous generation's main titles in the near future. Some boycott that was. I can't tell you what got the games flying off the shelves on release. It couldn't have been for a lack of games to play on the Switch. It wasn't that it was Pokemon in 3D for the first time. Maybe it was the novelty of playing a mainline Pokemon game on your TV, ignoring the Super Game Boy and Game Boy player. Or maybe longtime fans thought the way I did. We've already seen a DEXIT before. And we lived through it. We said goodbye to our Pokemon that stayed with us through 2 generations, our first Pokemon we ever caught. We were angry at Generation 3, but that initial anger fades. Maybe Generation 3 wasn't the best game, and I was definitely in the too much water boat for a long time, pun intended. But having experienced a DEXIT already, at least for me, leveled my expectations for Generation 8. Will Pokemon Sword and Shield be remembered for more than DEXIT? I hope so, but this has been one of the biggest outrages in the Pokemon fan community that I can remember. Will the new features introduced in Sword and Shield like Dynamaxing or the Wild Area remain in the series? We can't say for sure yet. Only time will tell if Pokemon's 8th generation will be remembered for cutting the decks and reintroducing Pokemon through cash grab DLC, or if the quality of the games will shine through its bad reputation, leaving its mark in the franchise as a fan favorite with a ton of great features. Just like Generation 3 did. I'm going to be frank with you guys right from the start. I'm reviewing this game in the context of a Pokemon fan, but I'm going to do my best to be impartial. In fact, I'll give the game 2 scores. One for Pokemon fans and one for general gamers. I'll try to give both perspectives here. Now, everyone knows the story in Pokemon games by now, right? You're a kid with a mom and an absent or non-existent father. Someone gets you to meet the region's tree-named professor who gives you a fire, water, or grass Pokemon. You leave your hometown saying goodbye to the entire population of 6 people, which apparently is illegal to do without a Pokemon in tow, and you embark on a journey. Your journey is to collect 8 badges or something, be the very best trainer, fight an evil theme gang, and catch all the Pokemon, especially the legendary Pokemon who tend to exist solely for you to catch. Are you looking for something different? Then Pokemon probably isn't for you. This is just the structure of the story in a Pokemon game. Fans know it and like it, and as any good storyteller knows, it's not what the story is about as much as it is how you tell the story. And Game Freak has been trying to shake it up from generation to generation. In the first 2 generations, the plots weren't much more involved than what I said, but for me, the 3rd and 4th generations took themselves too seriously. The evil teams weren't just trying to make money and stuff, they were trying to take over the world or destroy it or something, and you have to stop them and save the world. For me, I don't want that in a Pokemon game. I don't want to be the chosen one or the savior, I want to be the best one. I don't want the legendary Pokemon to choose me, I want to find it in its natural habitat, but I digress. Generation 5 had one of the best plots in my opinion, finding a nice middle ground between lighthearted and serious business. But Generations 6 and 7 regressed so much, having forgettable plots that revolved around the power of friendship or some crap like that. Oh, and the rivals? They went from being jerkasses who you actually liked to hate, to being your friends who tend to follow you everywhere. I don't feel like there's a rivalry when you heal my Pokemon before battle and then cheer me on after I beat you. So does Pokemon Sword and Shield shake up the formula? No, not really. But I very much like how, for the majority of the game, the plot is very lighthearted. Some Pokemon games had the badges feel like an aside or even obstacles that were preventing you from otherwise being a trainer. But in this game, the focus is on you becoming the very best, which is all I want from a Pokemon game. From very early on, you're introduced to the region's champion, and not just one, but 3 rivals. Your main rival, Hop, is sort of one of those annoying power of friendship guys, but I have to admit that I kind of like him. He doesn't want to battle you just because you're his friend, but because he wants to wipe the floor with his brother, the champion, and you are just an obstacle in his way. Definitely an improvement over whatever How's motivation was. And unlike the previous friendly rivals, instead of being happy when you beat him, he gets depressed. Finally, we return to characters who feel a bit more human in a Pokemon game. The next rival you meet is Bede, a young boy who looks like he'd fit into the Madam Trainer class, and he finally fulfills the long-awaited niche of being the jerk-ass rival. Except I think Game Freak forgot how to make a jerk-ass rival, and something just seems to be missing. Maybe he doesn't get in your way often enough, or maybe it's because his Pokemon are all cute, squishy, and weak. It'd be like if Silver came after you with a team of Togepi, Chikorita, and Hoppip. Well, they tried. Seriously, you can't make a Psychic-type trainer threatening these days when basically every Route 1 Pokemon learns Bite at level 5. Your third rival is Marnie, who has an entire fan club dedicated to making sure she becomes the next champion. Which is really creepy when she's supposed to be a 12-year-old girl or something, and the fan club, which looks to be populated with fully grown men and women, are following her around chanting her name. I'm pretty sure this wasn't something inspired by anything in the UK, but it is a very Japanese thing. Anyways, this is a thing in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but it feels more silly than creepy, if you don't think about it too much. Marnie herself is actually a pretty cool character who, ironically, is more of a down-to-earth rival, which we haven't seen too much of in the franchise. You'll battle each of your rivals multiple times throughout the game, and each one of them has their own awesome battle themes. And 3 rivals may seem excessive, though yes, Gen 6 did try that before with their forgettable friend group, but there are so many rivals because of how the League Challenge works in this game. While the previous generations felt like only a few people end up getting any badges at all, and sometimes like you're the only person doing it, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, every gym battle takes place in a freaking stadium with hundreds or even thousands of people watching your matches. Finally, the gym challenge ends up being the spotlight of the game's story. As for the plot, some people do complain that the game doesn't let the player do a lot of the fun or important things, instead letting other characters, like the champion, play the hero. But for me, I preferred that. I don't want my Pokemon adventure to be about me being the hero of the region. I want it to be about me getting my badges and beating the league. And as you get closer to the end of the game, there is more and more hero crap if you like that stuff, but I don't. And what the game did have wasn't enough to detract from the experience for me. On the contrary, it felt like my character was being progressively allowed to help out the champion more and more as I earned more badges, which really tied the badges to the plot for me. It never made sense when a newbie trainer and his level 7 Bidoof were going on missions to take on an evil team. So let's review. We've got 3 rivals, one of whom is actually a jerk-ass again. We're not flooded with power of friendship crap. The gym battles play a major role in the plot. The evil team is just an obsessed fan club and isn't trying to take over the world this time. And most of the boring Chosen One stuff is relegated to the post-game or short cutscenes. For me, this is pretty much all I want from a Pokemon game in terms of its story and presentation. Now, does this hold up to other games today in general? No, definitely not. It's clearly a game made for kids, and while the end game does touch on some politically relevant themes, though sadly not Brexit, it's all very surface level. While the characters do have some growth, it's nothing that you wouldn't get from a kid's anime or something. There are no real mysteries to uncover, and the villain's motives are bland. If you're a Pokemon fan and this sounds like the kind of plot you were looking for, then check out the game. If you're not a Pokemon fan and you were hoping for an amazing story, first of all, why? And second of all, don't worry about it. I love a good story in games, but the admittedly shallow plot of this game doesn't detract from the experience for me at all. As for the graphics, it's really a mixed bag here. The Pokemon look great whether you're playing on the Switch in handheld mode or on a big HD screen. I mentioned the animations before, and there are some really cool ones, particularly for the starters' final evolutions, who each have a signature move with cool animations. But other than those, most of the animations in battle are really lackluster. One particularly bad example is the move Double Kick, which tends to feature the attacking Pokemon hopping in place with nothing else happening. And yes, this has been the norm for Pokemon for a long time, but I have to admit that even my expectations were higher when Game Freak said they were focusing on the animations this time. So where did all of that work go? Maybe in the curry eating animations? All 400 plus Pokemon have lame eating and reaction animations, but I can't be bothered to see if these are the same animations as the berry eating ones from Generation 7. I wouldn't be surprised. But enough about the animations. Let's talk about the game itself. Being made for the Switch, it is very visually impressive for a Pokemon game. The towns and cities look big and full of life. The gigantic wild area looks amazing with a variety of settings. You can always see so much in the backgrounds as well, whether it's later routes that you can catch a glimpse of, or just unreachable areas designed to add flavor to the game. It doesn't look as good as some other third-party games on the Switch, but it's acceptable from an art direction in my opinion. If it looked too realistic, the Pokemon would just clash with the setting. Either way, I like the look of the game, but others may be disappointed by the visuals. However, one problem is the draw distance. Especially when you're moving quickly, Pokemon can seem to pop up out of nowhere. This includes Pokemon outside of the grass, such as Snorlax. It just pops up, and I run into it. How could I not see the Snorlax from a mile away? Or this Steelix. It's supposed to be 30 feet long, almost 10 meters. Overall, it's just a mild annoyance, and maybe my expectations were too high, but while the graphics are great for a Pokemon game, I can't say that they stand up to other games today, especially when the graphics interfere with the gameplay like this. The music and the sound though, it's incredible. Even after finishing the game a few months ago, many of the tracks keep popping back into my head. Not just ones I've heard over and over, but tracks of early towns that most players never even revisit. Each of the towns has a unique theme, which adds to their atmospheres. One of my favorites is the theme from the town with the first gym, Turffield. It has that feeling like this is the last time you get to relax before starting your amazing adventure. Something like that, I don't know. Give it a listen. Another area with great music is the Galarian Wild area, evoking mental images of rural UK, particularly Scotland with its bagpipes. This track fits perfectly and makes me feel like I'm exploring somewhere huge. This track would probably fit right in with contemporary fantasy WRPGs. So the music when you're exploring is fantastic, but my absolute favorite tracks are the battle themes. I can't tell you enough about them. Your three rivals, Hop, Beat, and Marnie, each have their own battle themes, which are probably my top 3 favorite tracks in any Pokemon game. Of the 3, it's a tough call, but Marnie's is probably my favorite, with its juxtaposition of a hard rock guitar track overlaid with a cutesy J-pop synth melody. It reminds me a bit of Baby Metal, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were part of the inspiration for Marnie's character. And just in case you missed it last time I played it, here's a little snippet of Bede's battle theme. Just listen to that bass intro. The Gym Leader theme is probably the most exciting though, being a dynamic track. It changes depending on what's happening. The track starts off awesome with music that really pumps me up for a battle. Heck, this could be dance club music, I think. I don't know, I'm not much of a clubber in my old Gen 1er age. When the gym leader knocks out one of your Pokemon, the melody drops, leaving just a skeleton beat with the bass pumping like a slowly beating heart. Make your triumphant comeback and get the gym leader down to their last Pokemon, the expectant crowd starts chanting along with the music. This is actually a big thing in Japan, and I've seen it in Korea too. Singing is a big part of sports in East Asia apparently, and it's so awesome in this piece. It really contributes to focusing the plot on the gym battles. Everyone watches these battles like they're a major sporting event, and getting badges really means something in the game's world. As for the sound effects, hearing the Pokemon's cries everywhere really adds to the game for me, even in the wild area where you hear the same cries over and over. Thankfully, the game gives you an item early on that unlocks the sound settings feature. Players can adjust the volume of music, sounds, and Pokemon cries independently, which I believe is a first for this series. So, if you don't like the Pokemon cries or sound effects, turn them off and listen to the incredible soundtrack in isolation. My only gripe is the "you got an item" sound effect is considered music, not a sound effect, and completely overpowers the amazing music you're trying to immerse yourself in. This is especially bad in the wild area where there are potentially valuable mystery items located all over the place, constantly interrupting the great atmospheric tracks if you pick them all up. The only other noteworthy sounds are the battle sounds, which are serviceable, and the Pokemon cries, which have been the same for years, but the updated cries for older Pokemon don't sound quite as out of place as they used to. The new cries fit the new Pokemon as well, though none stand out as particularly good or bad to me. Overall, when it comes to the story, presentation, and graphics, I find myself saying, it's mostly great, and then rationalizing it with, for a Pokemon game. But when it comes to the music, it's just incredible. If I could recommend a game to play based on the music alone, it would be this game. Don't play it silent or you will be missing out big time. The gameplay is where a lot of people will feel divided on this game for one reason or another. Like every generation before it, Pokemon Sword and Shield adds a ton of new features while also taking some away. And I'm not just talking about the missing Pokemon either. I'll be going over what's the same, new, and missing, the multiplayer aspect, and the difficulty of the game. Like in each previous Pokemon game, the goal is to catch Pokemon, battle them to level them up so they can learn new moves and evolve. You can find Pokemon in the wild, weaken them with your Pokemon, and throw Pokeballs to catch them. You can battle other trainers, gym leaders, and evil, or at least mischievous, people to earn money to buy supplies and to make your Pokemon stronger. Pokemon vary not only by their species, but also by their individual stats, natures, and unique abilities that mean any two Pokemon you catch will almost certainly not be identical even if they're the same species at the same level. Progress forward is usually gated by needing to reach certain milestones, which in Sword and Shield is usually getting your next badge or winning some other battle. So, what's new? Perhaps the biggest addition to the franchise with these games is the Galar Wild area, which is the closest thing we've ever gotten to an open-world Pokemon game. Before you even get your first badge, you're thrown into the wild area with a bag full of dozens of Pokeballs given to you for free, which probably aren't even enough to catch all the new Pokemon that you can encounter here. The wild area is divided into two main areas, one with Pokemon that are usually under level 30, and the other with Pokemon that go up to their mid-50s. This is important to keep in mind because you literally cannot catch Pokemon that are too high of a level. You're blocked from throwing Pokeballs. Now, these Pokemon can't be shiny, so don't worry about anything stupid like that happening. You can still fight them though, and if you can take them down, they give a ton of experience. Each half of the wild area has about 8 to 10 sub-areas each, with about half of them having Pokemon that you can catch without any badges, and there are a ton of Pokemon you can catch. Each sub-area has its own weather, which changes randomly each day. There are 6 different weather conditions to start, with 3 more weather conditions being unlockable. It can feel kind of silly walking from a glaringly hot sun to a thunderstorm to a blizzard. Wait, that feels like the weather in Toronto. But either way, it's a great touch. The Pokemon you can encounter vary depending not only on where you are, but also the weather. For example, in the Rolling Fields area, you can encounter 20 different Pokemon in total, but only 2 of them appear there all the time. The others only appear during their native weather. For most Pokemon, this isn't a problem as they tend to appear in other sub-areas in other weather, but there are some annoying endgame Pokemon that only appear at a 2% spawn rate in one particular area in one particular weather, and sometimes they self-destruct and... well, I guess hunting annoying Pokemon is just part of the franchise, eh? Anyways, you've probably noticed that Pokemon appear in the overworld. This was technically introduced in Pokemon Let's Go, but those weren't mainline games like Sword and Shield are. The difference is that you can't see a Pokemon's shininess in this game unless you enter a battle with them. Now don't worry if you miss wild random grass encounters because these still exist, on your terms. If you run through the grass, you'll see an exclamation point pop up nearby, and if you move to that spot, you'll encounter a Pokemon randomly like in every previous Pokemon game. And oh joy, some Pokemon appear this way exclusively! Coupled with a visible Pokemon occasionally chasing you down and others running away from you, I have to admit that I like this change to the series more than I thought I would. Another sort of new feature is camping. It's based off of Pokemon Ami, love that pun, where you can play with your Pokemon and feed them and stuff. This time around, there are no point-based minigames, but there is curry cooking, because curry is big in the UK. You combine berries with a key ingredient to create curries of different flavors. The minigame here is pretty boring, it's just push the button, spin the control stick, get the timing. It makes Mario Party look involved. Then you and your Pokemon eat it, and it can heal your Pokemon. So instead of getting free status heals after every battle by rubbing your Pokemon, you can feed your team to heal them to full health fairly easily. The downside is that if you want to complete the Curry Dex, yes, that's what it's called, you have to do this at least 151 times. More if you want to get all the different dish sizes, and even more if you want to get a gold medal for all the recipes. For some reason this sounds crazy to me, but my ever-growing living gender wonder dex in Pokemon Go doesn't. But I doubt many people will be filling their curry decks completely. Oh, and there's one version-exclusive ingredient per game, and a legendary ingredient. It's almost like they're doing a satire of Pokemon with the curry decks. What makes camping unique is that your Pokemon can interact with one another. They can race, get into arguments, and try to steal your attention. Your Pokemon also have memories, which you can see at Pokecenters. My starter was jealous when I ignored it to play with a Pokemon I thought evolved with friendship. Oops. Now let's talk about the gym challenges. In Generations 1 through 6, gyms were mostly areas where you could battle trainers, and you had some kind of gimmicky puzzle to make your way to the gym leader. Gen 7 mixed that up quite a bit with the trials, which was a very welcome addition. But in this generation, each and every gym has its own unique challenge. Taking inspiration from the popularity of football to most of the world, gyms typically take place in gigantic stadiums with minigames rather than single rooms with trainers and gimmicks. Some of them have unique and interesting mechanics, and others are rather lackluster, like the last gym. Just double battles? Come on! But the majority of the gyms have something completely unique, like the first gym's shepherding minigame, or this game's pachinko or pinball-style maze. These gym challenges make Pokemon Sword and Shield feel worthy of being a console release. My only gripe, aside from the few boring gyms, is that you can't go back and play these or experience tougher minigame challenges later. So, while fun, they are just gimmicks. When you fight the gym leaders, you're exposed to Generation 8's answer to Mega Evolution and Z-moves, which, by the way, seem to be completely absent in this game. Now we have Dynamaxing. This is basically a combination of all those previous features. Dynamaxed Pokemon turn giant, giving them a huge HP boost, and all of their moves become light Z-moves. If it sounds overpowered, that's because it is. In most circumstances, it's an instant win button for a skilled player, and unless you came very prepared to the battle, the best strategy when your opponent Dynamaxes is often to play defensively and wait it out. Each trainer can only activate Dynamax once per battle, and it lasts only 3 turns. Afterwards, the Pokemon reverts to its original form with only its regular moves. All of the gym leaders and other notable trainers have Pokemon that can Gigantamax, which is the exact same as Dynamaxing, except Gigantamax Pokemon each have a unique form and a unique move. Players have access to Gigantamax Pokemon too, but they're pretty rare, and can only be accessed by another new feature: Max Raid Battles. In these battles, players and up to 3 friends can battle a single Dynamax Pokemon together. These quasi-boss battles are super fun. The raid boss can attack multiple times per turn and can put up attack-absorbing shields, and has access to other abilities like resetting stat boosts on your team. You can also do these with AI trainers, but you should really try not to, as the AI sucks. Seriously, they're meme level terrible, and it seems like they're actively trying to sabotage your chance to win, especially Martin and his stat-boosting Solrock. I just need you to attack its shield. Any attack destroys 1 shield. We're running out of time! And you boosted your stats again. And fainted. Thanks. Look at it this way. I'm relieved whenever I see the trainer who uses Magikarp. Despite these troubles, the max raid battles are still fun, and they give you great rewards in addition to the chance to catch Pokemon you just defeated. You can win experience candy, which gives free experience to your Pokemon, rare berries, and also TRs. TRs teach a good move to one of your Pokemon once and then break. So yes, reusable TMs make a return, and there are 100 more TRs with the very best moves, with the catch being that they can't be reused, like the older game's TMs. Another addition is the Move Relearner. Well, not an addition so much as it's something that was made much easier. Any of your Pokemon can relearn moves at no cost at any Pokecenter. It's a convenient feature, especially when coupled with other quality of life changes. For example, you can access your Pokemon storage from almost anywhere in the game. You can easily take out Pokemon you want to level up in the middle of a route and not have to go back to a Pokecenter. As well, you quickly get access to a fly equivalent that lets you go to any previously accessed town. It's also easier than ever to breed good competitive Pokemon, but I won't get into that too much. If the phrase max IVs means something to you, just know that 5-star max raid bosses typically have 4 or 5 of them. Now as for what's missing? Well, over 400 Pokemon from the National Dex are currently impossible to obtain in the main game, as well as bringing your old Pokemon forward without Pokemon Home, but I've beaten that Ponyta to death by now. There's no real contest or fun minigame like the Game Corner or anything, unless you can camping, but that's not really fun. Perhaps what's missing the most for me, and has been for the last 2 generations, is the concept of an open map and exploration. In the older games, you could go to towns in an order of your choice to a degree. There were optional areas, places to explore, hidden sections of caves, heck, mazes in caves. But to make the game more approachable for kids, I'm assuming, the game is entirely linear. You're railroaded from A to B to C with no chance to explore. You enter caves and they're basically straight lines with occasional branches that lead to items, and with how easy they are to find, it barely feels like a reward. There are puzzles with nice prizes in a few of the towns, and backtracking is rewarded, but it doesn't feel the same. And looking at the game's map, it seems like there would be exploration, or at least choice in which town you could go to first when it starts to branch out, but nope, you can't go anywhere except where the game wants you to go. Thankfully, the wild area maintains that aspect of exploration and discovery, with all of the different Pokemon and hidden items to find. In fact, very early on you can explore the whole area, you're only blocked from actually catching the Pokemon in the later areas. But it's not a big deal, nor was DEXIT for me. Before I got my first badge, I had nearly 50 Pokemon registered in my Pokedex, with dozens more that I could have caught if I spent more time checking out different areas with different weather. So basically, the exploration aspect of the game is completely removed from the main plot progression, which is lame, but it's not terrible because you can still explore within the optional wild area. The only other thing that's missing is the Global Trade Service, or GTS, which finally brings me to the multiplayer aspect. From the very start, Pokemon has always been about interactivity, trading version-exclusive Pokemon, battling your friends, getting your friend's level 70 Articuno because you gave him that useless, ugly, shiny Golbat. I'll miss you, Pink Eye. Originally, you needed to attach to your friends via link cable, and so you could only trade Pokemon with someone next to you. From generations 4 through 7, you could trade Pokemon with anyone in the world while connected to the internet using the GTS. You could battle and trade Pokemon like before, but it also had a feature that let you deposit a Pokemon and request in exchange any Pokemon you've encountered before. Given how many people were using the feature around the world, you could probably load up any fair trade request after half an hour, and you'd have a new Pokemon come to you from somewhere in the world. It made getting those version exclusives a cinch. Except Pokemon Sword and Shield axed this feature. There's no more requesting, so the only way to trade with someone online is to do either an open trade, where you'll get matched with anyone who may not even want to trade, or a code-locked trade, where you enter a 4-digit PIN and get matched with someone else who searches for that PIN. Except there's no way to communicate anything in-game at all. No phrase buttons to communicate okay or something else. No emojis, nothing. So if you want to trade, you'll be using some other kind of service like Discord or Reddit to facilitate your trades. And there are a lot of scammers out there who enjoy keeping your trade evos or offering a 2-for-1 and only giving you the crap half of their end of the trade. As for the good, max raid battles are a lot of fun to do with friends or with strangers. My friend and I did some grinding on these for TRs, rare Pokemon, and other loot. It's a fun way to play Pokemon together without needing to create a competitive team for battling. Now, about the game's difficulty. There is forced experience share. You can't turn it off. However, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It means the game is balanced around having it on at all times, unlike the last game, which turned it on by default and balanced itself around having it off. And if you swap around your team at all, you'll probably be underleveled at some point in the game. With that said, the game still isn't hard per se, but some of the battles do give a good challenge. Hop is actually a formidable rival, and he mixes up his team quite a bit. And starting with maybe the 8th gym battle, the matches tend to be genuinely difficult. I have to admit that I had to cheese some of them by using items. Here's a hint if you want the challenge. Raise more than 6 Pokemon, don't use any items in battle, and change the battle style to set. Shift is easy mode, and so many people don't realize it and then complain that Pokemon is too easy. The game still gives this super effective marker on your moves after you've fought a Pokemon before, which reduces the need to memorize the type chart. I think it detracts from the game, but others might prefer it to having to learn all the new Pokemon's types. As for the post-game, minor spoilers ahead, there isn't much. You battle some ugly characters and eventually catch the box legendary, first participating in some fairly easy max raid battles. After that, you can do tournaments where you can invite the gym leaders and a bunch of random trainers to rematch you, which is always fun to see. I like the idea that gym leaders only test you with their teams and actually have good Pokemon in their PCs. Other than that, there's the Battle Tower, which isn't nearly as involved as it has been in other games in the series, but it's still challenging. Challenging, but a lot more approachable, as getting streaks without turning off the game isn't one of the requirements anymore. So there's still something out there for the hardcore Pokemon battlers in this game. So, as a Pokemon fan, the new mechanics are amazing. Tons of quality of life features make this the most accessible Pokemon game ever. And the wild area is probably my favorite new feature in any Pokemon game. Wild Pokemon running around, the return to a less intense plot with minimal power of friendship crap, and the focus on the gym challenge make this a top-tier Pokemon game in my opinion. The lack of minigames and exploration were forgivable, if annoying, and the lack of GTS was almost made up for by the multiplayer max raid battles. And the game isn't too easy. And if it is, use crappier Pokemon, gosh. As a non-Pokemon fan, the gameplay doesn't have the complexity of something like The Witcher or the exploration found in Breath of the Wild. And while the battle system does have its depth, it probably won't satiate the appetite of a hardcore JRPG gamer. But if you have a soft spot for collecting things and watching them grow, you'll probably enjoy this Pokemon game. Like most Pokemon games, it's up to the player how much time they want to invest in it. If you're looking to buy one game and play it to 110% completion, you will get a lot of time out of the game, though you might not enjoy that last 10%. With the series' standard ability to save anywhere except in battle, and the Switch's native ability to put the game to sleep and resume it at any time as long as you don't close the game, Pokemon Sword is very easy to pick up and play. The game is completely respectful of your time in that regard. If you want to just play the game from start to finish without doing much extra stuff, How Long to Beat lists it as about 25 hours long, which sounds short, but if you do the game's admittedly paltry post-game and catch your box legendary, you're adding an extra few hours onto that. But most people don't play Pokemon games to rush to the credits. People who say they beat the game like a completionist say it took them about 80 hours, with upward responses maxing out at over 150 hours. Actually, the completionist himself completed the game and he took 305 hours over the two games combined, so I'd guess that means a touch over 150 hours per game to do literally everything. As for me, I did everything I wanted to, including almost completing the Pokédex, darn you crappy trading system and version-exclusive legendaries, but not including anything related to making a competitive team. My save file was at about 115 hours before I started the DLC. What I'm getting at is that if you want to put a lot of time into the game, you can. And if you just want to catch 400 Pokemon, get all the Gigantamax Pokemon, and max out your Battle Tower ranks, you'll probably enjoy the time you put into the game. If you don't want to do all that, you'll probably enjoy the game too, just know that if you rush to the end, the game is very short and linear. Do yourself a favor and get lost in the wild area. You'd be surprised at the variety of Pokemon you have access to at any point in the game. 400 Pokemon definitely doesn't feel lacking. On the other hand, experienced trainers won't need to dump as much time into creating their perfect Pokemon. There are tons of time-saving features like the free move relearner that make it so much easier to create perfect Mons. It's been getting more and more approachable with every generation, and Generation 8 is no exception. In fact, even I'm considering finally putting together a competitive team. But this isn't a competitive Pokemon video or a how to breed video. That's probably not allowed on YouTube anyways. As for whether it's worth playing right now, today, as opposed to waiting for a price drop or picking it up used, well, I doubt the online community will disappear anytime soon, even in the future when the next generation of games comes out. There'll still be enough people playing to trade or to get a few raid battles in, though it'll certainly be easier now. The benefit of playing right now is that there are limited time raid battles that significantly raise the appearance of rare Gigantamax Pokemon, but if you want those Pokemon later, you can always find someone to trade with. I guess one way I felt the game wasted my time is that sometimes the cutscenes were boring, at least for me. And the curry decks. Don't do it unless you want to waste your time. Please don't do it. I'll probably try to do it because I want to complete everything, but please don't do the curry decks. I'm a cheapskate when it comes to games. $20 is my ideal price point for a game, and if it's only a few hours long, then even that price raises my eyebrow. So I get the Pokemon fans who are upset that since Pokemon Sword and Shield are technically a home console release on the Switch and not a handheld title, the game retails for about $60 US instead of $40 US, or whatever 3DS games went for. Forgive me if I'm wrong, I'm a Canadian who bought the game in Korea and it cost me 66,000 Korean won because I'm a millionaire over here. All these currency conversions confuse me sometimes. So let's call it $60. It's probably not going to drop in price anytime soon, and even buying the double pack doesn't get you a discount. It's like $120. What's going on there, Nintendo? There are definitely much cheaper ways to scratch your Pokemon itch. Furthermore, the game gets even more expensive. If you want to play max raid battles online, or even just want to trade or battle online, you'll need a Nintendo Switch Online membership, which will run you somewhere between $2 to $4 per month, depending on how long you sign up for. But wait, there's more! You can also purchase an expansion pass for $30, which gives you 2 upgrade packs that are coming out this year, where you get new areas and new Pokemon to add to your decks. But you can't play both of them until this winter, or later. But you can buy them now! Apparently Game Freak is doing this in lieu of their traditional third version or sequels, but I can't really say much about what the future holds or if they'll be worth it. The Isle of Armor that's out now has been fun, but it's definitely not worth the $30 on its own. Gotta wait for the Crown Tundra, I guess. And hey, remember when I said you can finally get your old Pokemon back? Well, then you also need Pokemon Home. You can use basic features and move around Pokemon on the Switch for free, but your old Pokemon sitting in Pokemon Bank on your 3DS require another $3 to $6 for a premium Pokemon Home membership, on top of Pokemon Bank's annual $5 fee. So for someone who already has a Switch who wants to experience this game to its fullest, including buying a Nintendo Switch Online membership, Pokemon Bank, and Pokemon Home for a month, and let's say you buy it this winter so you can play both expansions, that's going to run you about $98. That's an expensive game. And if you don't have a Switch, there goes another $200 or $300. And as of right now, there's no official bundle that includes a console and any of the games. This is an expensive game, and while it was worth the price for me, especially because my amazing friends got me the Switch as a gift, it would definitely be a hard sell to a lot of gamers, even Pokemon fans who haven't yet switched over from the 3DS yet. As I mentioned, I'll be giving this game 2 scores. One from my perspective as a Pokemon fan, and another I tried to give as an unbiased gamer in general, and a cheap gamer at that. For its history and legacy, I have to be harsh and give it a 0.5 out of 2 for creating a meme-worthy negative legacy up to its launch. But Pokemon fans can and have looked past that, with the games already selling more copies than either of the last generations in only a few months. For overcoming that fan backlash, and also for being a worthy first home console release in the franchise, I think it deserves a 1.5 from the perspective of a Pokemon fan. For having amazing music, but for just having decent graphics and story compared to other games today, I give it a 1 out of 2 for its overall presentation. As a Pokemon game, the story is exactly what I've been waiting for, and the presentation is superb. But still, the animations don't impress the way a lot of people think they should, and with the short draw distance occasionally hampering gameplay, I can't give it more than a 1.5 out of 2 even as a Pokemon fan. For being a great combination of approachable and complex, while also having a ton of things to do throughout the game that are enjoyable, but for being on the easy side and also missing some important aspects that were present in the previous games, like requesting specific Pokemon in trades, I give it a 1 out of 2 for its gameplay, or a 1.5 out of 2 if you're a Pokemon fan. For allowing players to largely choose how they spend their time and being very pick up and play due to the ability to save anywhere, I give it a 1.5 out of 2 for non-Pokemon fans who may not fully appreciate all the ways to spend time in the game. But as a Pokemon fan, I'd give this game a 2 out of 2 for the worth your time factor. As a full-price retail release competing with so many other games that people can spend their hard-earned money on, I have to admit that this game might not be worth your money if you're not a Pokemon fan. And even if you are, you might want to wait until the prices drop a bit, especially if you don't have a Switch now. I give it a 0.5 out of 2 for non-Pokemon fans, and a 1 out of 2 for fans of the series. That's a 4.5 out of 10 for non-Pokemon fans, and a 7.5 for Pokemon fans. This is my attempt at being objective, so definitely come at me in the comments if you disagree. And remember, a 7.5 isn't a bad score, and a 4.5 definitely doesn't mean I think it's a bad game. For Pokemon fans, this isn't necessarily a must-own game yet. It's not perfect, and it might not be worth the money if you have other games on your wishlist. However, the gameplay feels fresh, with the addition of the wild area and max raid battles, so if you can look past the flaws, it might be worth a purchase. And if you have money to spare, or if you get it as a gift, then with that barrier gone, I'd say it's a must-play, even if you're a Squirtle fan mourning his absence in the game pre-DLC. For non-Pokemon fans, I'd say that this isn't a game that you should pick up a Switch for if you don't already have one. If you do have a Switch, then you might consider picking it up, but there are probably other games you'd want to play first. If you've played those, then Pokemon Sword and Shield isn't a bad game, but realistically speaking, if the other 7 generations of Pokemon weren't for you, this one probably isn't either, especially at its increased price point. But if you do get the game, it's definitely worth at least checking out, and this could even be the Pokemon game that gets you into the series. No promises though. Well, that's all I have to say about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Thank you so much for watching. Your support has been incredible, and we really appreciate each and every one of you who has liked and commented on our videos. If you have anything to say to me, even if you disagree, drop me a comment. I do my best to reply to every single one. If you like my take on modern games, or if you'd rather me review more retro games, let me know in the comments. I'm definitely open to suggestions if you want to point me in the direction of a specific console, genre, or even a specific game. Also, at the time of posting this video, we're nearing 200 subscribers. Help us hit that goal, and if we've passed it by the time you're watching, help us hit our next goal. We're also on social media, and I'm out of things to say. How was your day? Mine was great because I finally finished this video and because you watched to the very end. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and remember to have an awesome day and an awesome week.